Monolingual versus bilingual communities. Now we take our discussion a little bit further and we try to compare monolingual and bilingual communities a little bit more. So, interestingly, monolinguality is more prevalent and in economically stable communities. Now, there is a lot of discussion about whether monolinguality itself leads to economic development, or is it the economic development that somehow leads towards monolinguality, or whether this assumption itself that monolingual societies are more developed is correct or not. We will talk about it later. In any case, whenever you have these bilingual societies or bilingual communities that we talk about, interestingly again, bilingual communities are often minorities, and often less developed communities have multiple languages that they contend with. Now, over here, I use the word minority. What do we mean by minority? Now, in ordinary terms, minority would mean something that is lesser in number. Either it is people or it is the language itself. However, please remember that minority status is not dictated by numbers politically. It is defined by status. So, if for instance in a colonial rule, you might have this dominant elite that rule the country, but over there they are not called a minority, they are the elite. It's only when you talk about ethnic minorities that live at the fringes of the society, that most of the times do not have access to certain resources, that you talk about them in terms of that they are a minority in society. So an immigrant population might be of a large number in a country and yet referred to as ethnic minority. So this, however, does not mean that once a group is in a minority, it will always remain a minority, or a language that a minority group will always be a minority language. It is possible that the subordinate group, after accessing some sort of political power, can impose its language by institutionalizing it through having a voice in language planning. So you have this case of Israel, for instance. So you can see this comeback of Hebrew language, how this Hebrew language was encouraged by the institutions, by the language planning, and it is no more a minority language. So legislation, institutional work, standardization processes put into full cycle will enable minority languages to become more popular and shift away from this label of minority language or minority status. So we can say in any case that this is a process. So language itself is also always evolving. And whenever we give examples and we talk about language in a specific situation, remember we are only capturing a moment and we are talking about it as a moment to simplify things. However, as we speak of right now, things keep on evolving. So, there can also be a situation of within bilingual context that there is an official recognition of what we say ethno-linguistic diversity. When ethno-linguistic duality or diversity is understood or accepted in a society, then it would mean that all the languages are recognized, or at least more than one languages are recognized. Not only recognized but managed. So this does not mean, for instance, that they are only taught in schools. This would mean they are actually used for government functioning also. So, for instance, in an office, in that kind of ethno-linguistic duality, you might have members who are speaking different languages, or they have different language and they use a lingua franca. You come across this situation a lot in Karachi. They use Urdu, but people from different ethnicities have different languages. But it is also possible that they use their own language, but they are, and for communication, some of them, these members, are able to understand but not speak that language. So, multidimensional nature of bilingualism, we must remember it is a complex phenomena because it works not only at individual level but also at societal level, and that is why there are multiple disciplines used to study it. We are not saying that this means that monolingualism is easier to study, but it is lesser complex. However, monolingualism can exist within bilingual societies. For instance, a group who does not have access to other languages, and similarly, bilingualism can also exist in monolingual societies also. So you might have people who have immigrated to a place where the larger population is not bilingual, but this family moves in over there, or this group moves on there, and they are living within a monolingual context.